The Galactic Council's warships appeared in Earth's skies on a quiet Tuesday morning. No warnings, no messages, just massive dark shapes that blocked the sun and cast long shadows across cities worldwide. People stopped and stared up. Phones. Recording the moment everything changed. Commander Kim stood in the United Defense Force headquarters, surrounded by screens showing the alien ships. He had spent 20 years preparing for war, but not this kind. Not against something so far beyond their reach. "Sir, they're not responding to any communications," said his aide, voice shaking. Commander Kim nodded slowly. "Keep trying. And tell all forces to hold positions. No one fires unless fired upon." That order lasted 6 hours. Then the ships began their attack. The aliens didn't target random civilians. They were surgical and precise, destroying military bases, power plants, and government buildings. Their weapons cut through Earth's most advanced defenses like they were made of paper. Fighter jets exploded before getting within firing range. Missile systems failed to lock on targets. Commander Kim watched the screens in horror as Seoul fell in 3 hours, Tokyo in 4. New York and London barely lasted a day. "We need to surrender," he finally said, the words burning his throat. "We can't win this fight." Professor Lee was eating dinner with his family when soldiers came to his home. They weren't human soldiers. "You will come with us," said a mechanical voice from a floating device. "Your knowledge of biology is required." The aliens, as Professor Lee soon discovered, had studied humans for decades. They knew our languages, our biology, our weaknesses. They knew exactly who to take and who to leave behind. At the makeshift alien headquarters in what used to be the United Nations building, Professor Lee faced his first alien. It stood nearly 9 feet tall with 6 limbs that moved with unnerving grace. Its skin shifted colors slightly as it spoke, and its 4 eyes blinked in patterns that made Lee dizzy. "You will translate our terms to your leaders," it said through a device around what might be its neck. "You understand biology. You will understand why resistance is pointless." The terms were simple and brutal. Earth would provide resources and labor. In return, the aliens, who called themselves the Galactic Council, would not exterminate humanity. They would allow enough humans to live to keep working. "This is how it has always been," the alien told Professor Lee. "Thousands of worlds before yours have accepted their place. You will too." Within weeks, massive mining operations appeared across Earth. Mountains were cut open, oceans were drained in sections, forests were cleared. Humans were put to work under alien supervisors, helping where machines couldn't. Commander Kim was kept alive as a figurehead. The aliens understood human psychology well enough to know that people needed to see familiar faces giving orders, even if those orders came from elsewhere. "Tell them to work harder," the council representative would say during their daily meetings. "Tell them that cooperation brings rewards." But there were no rewards, only survival. The aliens took everything they wanted: metals, water, organic compounds, loading them onto massive ships that left Earth's atmosphere each day. Professor Lee worked translating alien communications and helping design more efficient work camps. He hated himself for it, but they had his family. Everyone had someone they were protecting. 3 months after the invasion, Earth looked different. The skies had a strange haze from alien machinery. The nights were never fully dark, with mining operations running around the clock. People moved differently too, heads down, voices quiet, eyes always watching. At a work camp outside what used to be Busan, a young woman named Park collapsed from exhaustion. The alien overseer moved toward her, its punishment rod glowing. An older worker named Jin stepped between them. "She just needs water," Jin said quietly. "Give her water, and she'll work twice as hard." The alien paused, its color-shifting skin rippling with what might have been confusion. It hadn't expected negotiation. After a moment, it allowed another worker to bring Park water. That night, Jin visited Park in the worker barracks. "Thank you," she whispered. Jin shook his head. "Don't thank me yet, but remember what happened today. They don't understand us as well as they think. And that might be important someday." At the alien headquarters, Commander Kim noticed something similar. The council representatives were efficient and brutal, but also rigid. They followed patterns. They expected certain behaviors. When humans did something unexpected, there was always a slight delay before they responded. They've done this before, he realized one night. Many times. They have a system, and the system has always worked. Professor Lee made similar observations. The aliens were advanced but specialized. Each knew its role perfectly, but struggled with tasks outside that role. They relied completely on their technology and seemed to have lost the ability to improvise. Humanity will eventually appreciate its place in the cosmic hierarchy, the Council's main representative told Earth's remaining leaders during a broadcast meant to pacify the population. All species do in time. But as Commander Kim and Professor Lee exchanged glances across the room, a dangerous thought formed between them. What if, for once, a species didn't? 6 months into the alien occupation, mining Operation Delta 7 ground to a halt for the third time that month. The massive excavators stood silent, their energy cores mysteriously offline. Overseer Trelak slammed his upper limbs against the control panel. His skin flashed angry red patterns as he barked orders to his subordinates, "Find the problem now!" His translator device made his voice sound mechanical, but the fury came through clearly. The alien technicians scurried around the machinery, their specialized tools scanning for malfunctions. They found nothing unusual, just another inexplicable failure. "Perhaps the local minerals are affecting our equipment," suggested one technician. "This planet's composition is slightly different from our models." Trelak wasn't convinced. 3 failures in the same location? The same systems? His 4 eyes narrowed. Check the human workers. Question them again. But the human workers knew nothing, or so they claimed. They stood in lines, eyes downcast as the aliens interrogated them. No one spoke, no one broke. What Trelak didn't know was that the sabotage had happened 3 days earlier, when Park had accessed the excavator's maintenance panel for routine cleaning. It had taken her only 20 seconds to plant the tiny device that would slowly corrupt the energy core's regulation system. Park hadn't always been a saboteur. Before the invasion, she had been an electronics engineer working on solar power systems. Now she led a resistance cell operating throughout the mining sector. That evening, she sat in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath the ruins of what had once been a bustling Seoul neighborhood, sharing her success with 5 other members of her cell. The device worked perfectly, she told them, her voice barely above a whisper despite their secure location. "The core shut down exactly when we predicted." "How long before they fix it?" asked Jin, who worked as a loader at the mine. "At least 4 days. They'll need to bring in new parts." Park allowed herself a small smile. "That's 4 days they're not stripping our planet." 30 meters below the surface, in what had once been a government bunker, Dr. Song worked under harsh lights, her hands steady as she carefully disassembled a piece of alien technology. It was a communication device taken from an alien overseer during a rare moment of carelessness. "Hand me the modified cutter," she said to her assistant. The young man passed her a tool that looked like an ordinary scalpel but had been enhanced, with elements from alien tools. It sliced through the device's outer casing as if it were butter. Dr. Song had been a medical researcher before the invasion. Now she led a team studying alien technology, learning its secrets piece by piece. "It's amazing," she murmured, exposing the device's inner workings. "Their tech is centuries beyond ours, but the principles are still recognizable. It's just taken to levels we never imagined." What amazed her most was how quickly humans were adapting. 6 months ago, they couldn't even open alien devices without destroying them. Now they were reverse engineering simpler components and beginning to understand the more complex ones. "Look here," she pointed to a tiny crystal embedded in the circuit. "I think this is their version of a processor, but it uses light instead of electricity. If we can understand how it encodes information..." Her team worked through the night, as they did most nights. Sleep was less important than progress now. Across the globe, similar scenes played out in hidden places. In the flooded ruins of coastal cities, in remote mountain caves, in the vast underground networks of old mines and subway systems, humans gathered, planned, and prepared. They communicated through a system that seemed impossible to detect. Every day the aliens sent supply manifests between their operations. lists of resources, equipment needs, personnel transfers. Hidden within these mundane communications were codes, subtle patterns of words and numbers that meant nothing to the aliens, but everything to the resistance. This system was the brainchild of Choi, who had been a cryptography specialist for his country's intelligence agency. Now he used his skills to build a global network right under the aliens' noses. The beauty is in its simplicity, he explained to new recruits. They expect advanced encryption, hidden channels, technology. They don't expect us to use their own boring paperwork against them. In what remained of Beijing, resistance members sabotaged fuel lines to alien transports. In the Amazon basin, others introduced subtle contaminants to resource processing centers. Near the ruins of Cape Town, a team managed to redirect a shipment of rare minerals, hiding it for future use. None of these actions were large enough to raise significant alarms. Equipment failures, shipping errors, geological challenges, all normal problems in a planetary-scale operation. The Council had seen such issues on every world they conquered. What they hadn't seen was the pattern, the deliberate, coordinated nature of these accidents. At Delta 7, Overseer Trelak finally got his excavators running again. Production resumed, quotas were met, and reports were filed. Everything seemed normal, but as he stood watching the human workers load processed materials onto transport vehicles, something bothered him. The humans moved efficiently, without complaint, yet there was something in their eyes. Not the usual fear or resignation he was accustomed to seeing in conquered species, something else, something he couldn't quite identify. Watch them more closely, he instructed his security team. There is something unusual happening. His concerns were noted and promptly filed away by his superiors. After all, paranoia among overseers was common on newly conquered worlds. It would pass as it always did when species accepted their place. Meanwhile, in her hidden workshop, Park completed work on her newest device, smaller than the first, but designed to cause much more confusion in the alien systems. "We aren't trying to defeat them yet," she told her team. "Just learning their weaknesses, building our strength. Every day they think they're winning is another day we prepare." Dr. Song made another breakthrough with alien power systems. Choi expanded his communication network to include 3 more regions, and in bunkers around the world, humans adapted, learned and grew stronger. The resistance moved like ghosts, unseen, unheard, leaving only confusion in their wake. But behind the confusion, a storm was building. Dr. Kang hadn't slept properly in 3 days. His eyes burned from staring at alien schematics, and his hands trembled slightly as he reached for his cup of cold tea. The underground laboratory, hidden beneath the ruins of a university physics building, hummed with the sound of jury-rigged equipment. "I need to see the transmission patterns again," he said to his assistant, who quickly pulled up the data they'd gathered from monitoring. Council communications. Dr. Kang had been tracking alien communications for months. At first it seemed impossible to crack their systems. The technology was centuries beyond human understanding. But humans had always been good at finding patterns, at seeing connections where none seemed to exist. "There it is," he whispered, pointing to a repeating sequence in the data. "Do you see it?" His team gathered around the display, squinting at the complex waveforms. "For their ships don't just communicate, they're connected," Dr. Kang explained, his excitement growing. "It's quantum entanglement. Their entire network operates as a single system." "Which means what, exactly?" asked one of his colleagues. Dr. Kang's eyes lit up. "It means they're vulnerable in a way they don't even realize. Their greatest strength is also their greatest weakness." He quickly sketched out his theory. The Council ships used quantum-entangled particles to communicate instantly, across vast distances. No delay, no signal that could be intercepted. It was perfect, elegant, and nearly impossible with human technology. But Dr. Kang noticed something the aliens had overlooked. Their system was so interconnected that a disruption in one node, if done correctly, could cascade through the entire network. "They've optimized for efficiency, not security," he explained. "They've never needed security because no species has ever been able to understand their technology well enough to attack it." His discovery was revolutionary, But it was useless without a way to actually access the Council's communication network. They needed more information, more access to alien technology. 200 kilometers away, Captain Han and her team prepared for the riskiest operation any resistance cell had attempted. Their target wasn't a mining facility or a transport ship. It was a high-ranking Council official. "Everyone clear on the plan?" Han asked, checking her makeshift weapon one last time. It looked like an ordinary rifle, but its internal workings had been modified with alien technology. The energy core from a Council stunner had been reversed and amplified, making it deadly rather than merely incapacitating. Her team nodded silently. 6 men and women, all former military or police, all now dedicated to one goal: capturing Sub-Administrator Galvek during his inspection tour of the Regional Processing Center. "Remember, we need him alive," Han emphasized. "Dead aliens tell no tales." The raid happened during a shift change when security protocols were momentarily relaxed. Han's team struck from multiple directions, using the hybrids weapons they'd developed. The alien guards fell quickly, confused by weapons that shouldn't exist in human hands. Sub-Administrator Galvek was secured within 3 minutes. The tall 4-eyed alien didn't resist as they fitted him with a signal-blocking device and loaded him into a modified truck. "Your species continues to surprise me," the alien said through his translator as they drove away. "This is unprecedented." "Get used to surprises," Han replied coldly. In a secure facility deep beneath the mountains, resistance leaders gathered to question their captive. Galvek was not physically tortured, partly from moral considerations, but mostly because no one knew enough about Council physiology to make torture effective. Instead, they used psychology. Council members, they had learned, valued status and hierarchical position above all else. Threatening Galvek with demotion in their rigid social structure proved more effective than physical pain could ever be. "Tell us about your homeworlds," Commander Kim demanded during one session. Galvek's skin rippled with patterns of distress. "Why? You cannot reach them. They are beyond your technological capability." "Humorous," Professor Lee said. "Consider it an academic discussion." Slowly, over many sessions, Galvek revealed crucial intelligence. The Council consisted of 12 species who had formed an alliance millennia ago. They had conquered thousands of worlds, absorbing resources and occasionally useful species into their hierarchy. "And these homeworlds, how are they defended?" Captain Han asked during her interrogation shift. Galvek made a sound that might have been laughter. "Defended? Against what? No species has ever fought back effectively after initial conquest. No species has ever reached our core worlds. There has been no need for defenses in 10,000 years." This revelation electrified the resistance leadership. The Council's arrogance, their certainty of superiority, had led to complacency. Their homeworlds might be vulnerable, if humans could somehow reach them. Meanwhile, in workshops hidden across the planet, humans were combining their understanding of Council technology with their own ingenuity. The results were ugly but effective. Hybrid weapons that no Council member had ever imagined possible. In Australia, they modified Council energy weapons to work with human power sources, creating portable weapons that could penetrate alien armor. In what was once Russia, engineers combined alien propulsion systems with conventional explosives, creating missiles that could track Council ships. In Brazil, a team developed signal jammers that could temporarily disrupt Council communication devices, creating brief windows when aliens couldn't coordinate. None of these developments alone could challenge the Council's dominance. But together, combined with Dr. Kang's discovery and the intelligence from Galvek, they offered something humanity hadn't had since the invasion: hope. "The Council doesn't understand us," Professor Lee told the resistance leadership during a global encrypted meeting. "They're specialists. Each member of their society has specific skills and knowledge, but very little outside their area of expertise. While we're generalists," Commander Kim added, "we adapt, we improvise, we take pieces from different areas and combine them in ways they'd never imagine." The aliens, confident in their technological superiority, failed to see the holistic threat developing beneath their notice. They viewed the occasional acts of sabotage as isolated incidents, the expected resistance of a newly conquered species. They had seen it all before, and it had always faded as species accepted their place. What they didn't understand was that humans had something the other species lacked, a long history of fighting against overwhelming odds, of resistance against occupation, of finding ways to defeat technologically superior enemies. Dr. Kang finished his prototype disruptor, designed to interfere with the Council's quantum network. Captain Han's team extracted more intelligence from Galvek. Workshops around the world produced more hybrid weapons, and in secret meetings, resistance leaders began planning something no conquered species had ever attempted, a coordinated global counterattack against the mighty Galactic Council. "They think they know us," Commander Kim told his officers. "They think we're just another species to add to their collection. They're about to learn how wrong they are." The day humanity fought back began like any other under alien rule. Council. Overseers gave orders, humans obeyed, and massive mining operations continued stripping Earth of its resources. Nothing seemed different, which was exactly what the Resistance had planned. At precisely 0700 hours worldwide, strange malfunctions began occurring in Council equipment. At first, they were small: communication devices losing signal, transport vehicles stalling, processing systems showing errors. Nothing alarming, just the usual glitches that happened on any given day. Overseer Trilak at mining facility Delta 7 was dealing with another excavator failure when his communication device chimed with an urgent message from Regional Command. Multiple. "System failures reported across all sectors," the message read. "Possible coordinated sabotage. Maintain security protocols and await further instructions." Trilak's skin flashed with concern patterns as he looked up at the human workers, who continued their tasks with heads down. Nothing seemed unusual. Yet something felt very wrong. In an underground command center beneath the ruins of what had once been a government complex, Director Yoon watched as reports flooded in from resistance cells worldwide. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Phase out. "One complete," her assistant reported. "Council communications show increasing confusion and alarm." Director Yoon, formerly the head of her country's cyber defense agency, had spent months planning this moment. Her team had created a cascading failure that would appear random to the aliens, but was actually carefully orchestrated to create maximum confusion. "Begin Phase 2, she ordered, her voice calm despite the enormity of what they were attempting. Across the globe, hidden resistance members activated devices that Dr. Kang had designed, quantum network disruptors that attacked the alien communication system at its foundation. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Council's perfect instantaneous communication network began to fail in ways their technology couldn't understand or fix. As alien commanders scrambled to restore communications, Director Yoon gave the order to activate the EMP network. Hundreds of modified electromagnetic pulse devices, hidden near key Council installations, fired simultaneously. Alien technology, despite its advancement, still relied on principles of physics that made it vulnerable to massive electrical surges. Council bases worldwide went dark. Their weapon systems failed. Their shields collapsed and humanity attacked. In what had once been Seoul, Park led her cell in storming the regional command center. Her people carried weapons that looked like they had been assembled from spare parts, because they had been. But inside these crude casings were components that combined human ingenuity with reversed-engineered alien technology. "Remember, aim for their communication devices first," she shouted as they charged forward. "Then target their vision sensors." The aliens, used to fighting with perfect coordination and superior technology, found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Council soldiers still had physical advantages, multiple limbs, armored exoskeletons, natural weapons, but they had relied on technology for so long that many had forgotten how to fight without it. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbit, Major Bay sat in the pilot seat of a captured Council transport ship. Around him, 5 similar vessels waited, each manned by volunteer crews. They had all known this was likely a one-way mission. All ships report ready status, his communications officer said. Major Bay took a deep breath. Begin approach. Maximum speed when we clear the atmosphere. The 6 ships accelerated toward the massive Council command vessels that hovered above Earth. Without their defensive systems, the alien ships were vulnerable to the simplest of attacks, kinetic impact. Major Bay's transport, loaded with Earth's densest metals and moving at incredible speed, struck the main Council command ship directly in its propulsion section. The explosion lit up Earth's orbit like a new star. Similar scenes played out as the other transports found their targets. On the ground, the Council forces fell into disarray. Without central coordination, each unit fought alone. Some held their positions, others retreated, and some simply surrendered, overwhelmed by the sudden reversal. In what had once been London, civilians armed with improvised plasma rifles fought alongside former military personnel carrying reverse-engineered alien weapons. The streets that had been silent under occupation now echoed with the sounds of humanity reclaiming its world. Dr. Song led a team that targeted the aliens' central database facility. Their goal wasn't to destroy it, but to capture it intact. The knowledge within would be crucial for humanity's future. "Don't damage the core systems," she shouted as her team secured the building. "We need those intact." The Council had never faced this kind of uprising before. Their species had always conquered, assimilated and ruled. The concept of a subjugated world successfully fighting back was so alien to them that they had no protocols for it. After 18 hours of fighting, the remaining Council forces began a coordinated retreat, not to their ships, which were now mostly destroyed or captured, but to their lunar base. It was their last stronghold in Earth's vicinity, a place they could regroup and call for reinforcements from the Council homeworlds. In the Resistance's global command center, General Moon watched the retreat with cautious optimism. A former military strategist, she had been one of the architects of the uprising, coordinating cells worldwide into a single effective fighting force. "They're running," someone said, excitement in their voice. "Not running," General Moon corrected. "Regrouping. This isn't over." She turned to her staff, people who had worked in secret for months preparing for this day. "Begin final phase preparations. We have perhaps 3 days before they launch a counterattack from the moon." "If they can launch one," Commander Kim said, entering the room. "Reports from our orbital team suggest we've destroyed most of their heavy weaponry." General Moon nodded but remained cautious. "Even so, we proceed as planned. Director Yoon, is the captured ship ready?" Director Yoon consulted her tablet. "Dr. Kang needs 12 more hours to ensure the navigation system is properly modified. After that, yes." General Moon allowed herself a small smile. "Then we have our path forward. The Council retreated to the moon because they expect us to cower, to negotiate, or at best to try to attack them there." She activated the main display, showing not the moon but a star map, with a route plotted to a distant system. "They'll never expect us to take the fight directly to them, to their homeworlds. They've never faced that in 10,000 years of conquest." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't just fighting to free Earth. They were about to change the power balance of the entire galaxy. "Prepare the strike team," General Moon ordered, "and make sure Admiral Ju is ready to command the mission. It's time to show the Galactic Council that humanity isn't just another species to be conquered and forgotten." Admiral Ju stood on the bridge of the captured Council vessel, her hands clasped behind her back as she gazed at the view screen. The ship, renamed New Dawn, had been the personal transport of Sub-Administrator Galvec before his capture. Now it carried humanity's hopes across the stars. "Status report," she said quietly. Her executive officer, a former Navy commander named Park, checked the alien displays they'd learned to read during their 3-week journey. "We've entered the outer defense perimeter of the Council capital system. Admiral, no response to our presence yet." Ju nodded. The Council homeworld system had minimal defenses, exactly as Galvec had revealed during his interrogation. Why waste resources protecting planets that had never been threatened in 10,000 years? "They're detecting us now," said the sensors. "Officer." Several patrol vessels changing course to intercept. Admiral Ju had never commanded a starship before the invasion. She had been a naval officer, used to oceans rather than the void of space. But she understood power, strategy, and most importantly, she understood people. Even when those people weren't human. "Open a channel," she ordered. "Use their emergency frequencies." The communications officer, Dr. Song's most talented student, worked the alien controls with practiced ease. "Channel open, Admiral." Ju stepped forward. "This is Admiral Ju of Earth. We come under a flag of truce to address the Galactic Council directly. We request immediate audience." The patrol ships continued their approach. For a moment it seemed they would attack despite the truce request. Then, abruptly, they changed course again, taking up escort positions instead. "They're responding," the communications officer reported, surprise in his voice. "We're being granted approach clearance to the capital world." Ju allowed herself a small smile. Curiosity, it's a powerful force, even for them. As New Dawn approached the Council capital world, the crew stared in awe at the view screen. The planet was a masterpiece of engineering, its continents shaped into perfect geometric patterns, its oceans tinted with subtle colors, its cities gleaming structures that seemed to grow from the land itself. "Begin broadcast," Admiral Ju ordered as they entered orbit. This was the most crucial part of their plan. Instead of attacking the virtually defenseless world, as the Council might have done, they began transmitting footage to every communication relay in Council space. The footage showed Earth's successful rebellion. Humans working together, using creativity and determination to overcome the technological gap. Alien weapons being turned against their makers. Council ships falling from the sky as their systems failed. But it wasn't just a demonstration of Earth's victory. The broadcast continued, showing what happened after the fighting stopped. Captured Council members being treated with dignity, humans salvaging and repurposing alien technology to repair their damaged world. "Make sure the translation is going out in all Council languages," Ju reminded her communications officer. "Every subject species needs to understand what they're seeing." The response was immediate. Council communication channels exploded with activity. On dozens of conquered worlds, subject species watched the footage with growing hope. Some took to the streets in spontaneous demonstrations. Others began sabotaging Council operations, mimicking the techniques they'd seen humans use. "We're getting responses from at least 17 different species," reported the communications officer, his voice rising with excitement. "They're asking how they can join us," Admiral Ju nodded. "And the Council?" "They've issued a formal summons. The Assembly is convening an emergency session." Ju straightened her uniform. A simple Earth military design, deliberately not modified with alien elements. She wanted the Council to see a human, not an imitation of themselves. "Prepare the delegation," she ordered. "It's time." The Council Assembly Hall was a vast chamber, its ceiling a perfect dome that seemed to contain an entire galaxy of stars. Representatives of the 12 Council species sat in concentric circles, their position indicating their status in the strict hierarchy. Ju and her small delegation, Commander Kim, Professor Lee, and Dr. Kang, entered from the main doorway, walking steadily toward the center of the chamber. Thousands of alien eyes followed their movement. The silence was absolute. At the center of the chamber, the High Administrator, a massive six-limbed being with iridescent skin, looked down at the humans with what might have been contempt. "You have violated the natural order," the High Administrator said, its translator making the words boom throughout the chamber. "No subject species has ever attacked a Council homeworld." "We haven't attacked," Ju replied calmly. "We could have, but we chose not to. Consider that carefully." Murmurs spread through the assembly. The concept was alien to them, having power, but choosing not to use it. "You cannot hope to defeat the combined might of the Council," another representative said. "Your victory on your world was an anomaly." Ju smiled. "Perhaps. But now that anomaly is spreading. How many worlds have already begun their own rebellions after seeing our broadcast? How many of your mining operations have already stopped producing? How many of your ships are being sabotaged as we speak?" The murmuring grew louder. The Council members shifted uncomfortably, their skin patterns showing agitation. "What do you want?" the High Administrator finally asked. "Why have you come here?" This was the moment Admiral Ju had prepared for. The moment that would determine the future not just of Earth, but of countless worlds. Humanity will have a seat at this table as equals, she announced, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. Not as subjects, not as servants, but as full members of the Galactic Council with all rights and privileges. The chamber erupted in objections. Council members rose from their seats, their translator devices creating a cacophony of protests. Or, Ju continued, raising her voice above the din, "We will lead a coalition that dismantles the Council entirely. The choice is yours." She gestured to Dr. Kang, who activated a small device. The chamber's main screen displayed data from their ship, showing the quantum network vulnerabilities Dr. Kang had discovered, the weapons Earth had developed, and the growing rebellion on conquered worlds. "We don't want destruction," Ju said, her voice softening. "Unlike you, we don't seek to conquer. We want partnership. We want exchange. We want a galaxy where species help each other grow, not one where the strong dominate the weak." The council fell silent again, considering her words. "It is unprecedented," the High Administrator said finally. "Yes," Ju agreed, "but then humans specialize in unprecedented actions. You might find that quality useful in the challenges to come." 3 days of intense negotiations followed. The Council, faced with spreading rebellions and humanity's unexpected resolve, finally agreed to the terms. Earth would have a seat on the Council. Other species would be granted more autonomy. The Age of Conquest would end, replaced by a new era of cooperation. As Admiral Ju signed the historic agreement, she thought of all those who had fought and died to make this moment possible. The resistance fighters, the scientists who had unlocked alien secrets, the soldiers who had faced superior technology with courage and determination. "This is just the beginning," she told Professor Lee as they prepared to return to Earth with the news. "We've changed the galaxy forever. As humans took their place among the galactic powers, other species looked to Earth with newfound respect and hope. The world that had done the impossible, not just fought back against the mighty Council, but forced it to change, to evolve into something better. And in the years that followed, as Earth's representatives helped reshape the Council into a true federation of equals, the story spread throughout the galaxy. How a small blue planet thought to be just another conquest had instead become the catalyst for a new age of galactic cooperation.